not to be gone that long at all.
And we are live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, your weekly NXT review show here at the BC WrestlePod. I am El Jefe of BC WrestlePod, Mikey. And of course, we got a special episode of NXT for this one. Of course, I am joined by my number one right-hand man to all of this in Papa Oso Will. But so I'm happy that he is here. But today, we have a special guest joining us as he was there live and in person at the Performance Center for NXT last night. And I would like to, of course, you can find him on Sundays with us reviewing WWE at Dual Dynasty, as well as all the WWE pay-per-views. But I would like to introduce the Pleat Father himself, Kilt Man. Hi, Kilt. Happy to have you.
I was too far away. I ruined my entrance. Hi, everyone.
That's your fault.
Yeah, no, I won't lie. That was totally my fault. I tried to do the spin, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm great. Let me reach over and unmute myself. I'm too far.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be BC WrestlePod if we weren't messing up on things, honestly.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm happy to have you, Kilt. You were in the building for this one, so I'm very interested to get your takes about a lot of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. But before we get into all of that, a little bit of housekeeping before I ask my questions. First and foremost, if you like what you see here, or even if you don't, that is okay, because we love you and we're happy that you're here. So if you want to support us by watching our, long live stream reviews or the edited versions that go up the following day, you can subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Twitch or Kick, whatever your preferred platform of choice is. However, we understand that watching full-length YouTube videos is not in your wheelhouse and you do not have the time to do so, and we understand. So if you still want to interact with us, you can follow us at BC WrestlePod on every social media site possible right now, except for Snapchat. Because we like to engage with you, where we upload our report cards, we have, news, we do, our schedules and stuff like that. We love to interact with you, and we're slowly building friends on the internet. Of course, we have our good friend Nick at the Nick Happy Hour podcast, who, is a frequent flyer here at BC WrestlePod. And coming this fall, we may or may not be bringing in some more friends that I've been working on behind the scenes with. So stay tuned for all of that. So that should be a good time.
New friends.
New friends is great. But of course, we also have some merchandise if you want to treat yourself to something nice, as well as support us financially in that manner. We have merch of all of our review teams with really cool logos. We have our anniversary special for BC WrestlePod, as well as our summer collection, which will be going away at the end of this month to make room for our fall line. Working on some designs, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But we also have our 24/7, 365 days a year Pride collection, where proceeds will be donated to Point to Pride. And then we have our anti-establishment / anti-fascism plus we don't give a what collection, which part of those proceeds of that collection will be donated to the California Youth Immigration Justice Fund, which provides financial and legal assistance for kids, teens, and young adults being, immigration issues in general and what is currently happening in this nation. All right. So with that out of the way, I'm going to provide the link for the merch in the chat sections below so y'all can check that out. But now, let's get into it. So before we go through the order of the show, Kilt, we're going to start with you really quickly because, again, you were in the building for this one. You happen to live in the area. So I just want to walk us through the whole process of how'd you get there? How was the experience? And, we'll go from there for the show. So you take it away.
Thank you. Oh, my God. Okay, so first and foremost, I ordered merch on Friday just so I could have our merch on me when I went to the Performance Center. It's not going to get here until tomorrow. I even pay for it, expedited shipping, which upset me a little bit. But that's fine. Order it ahead of time. But our merch is sick. Don't get me wrong. I found a TikTok like, hey, you can do this, blah 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 blah. You'll get in for free. And so I did what I do with everything. I go looking, found what I was looking for. Didn't really expect anything of it. Trying to remember what day I texted you. I think it was like Wednesday of last week or Tuesday of last week. That I got this email saying, "Hey, guess what? We would like you to come to Tuesday's taping. Please respond if you're interested." I'm like, "All right, sweet." I did all the things they asked me to do. You fill out a Google form, you put information in, and then he's like, "Okay, if you're selected, we'll send you a message on Friday." Friday rolls around, I get another email, and it says, "Hey, you've been selected. You'll get one on Monday with all the details on how you're going, how everything works." So I'm like, "Great, cool. I'm ready. I'm excited. Let's do this." Monday comes in, I get the email telling me everything. It says, "Here's all the details you need to follow. You need to go to Full Sail University at this time on this building, and you have to sign in. You'll get your wristbands, because they give you 2 wristbands. One is attendance record, and one is which bus you are on, because they number the buses. And then you get on the bus and you get bussed to the performance center, because there's no parking at the performance center because it's a warehouse. And so there's no parking there. You can't ride share there anymore. You can't get any food delivered there. You have to either eat before you go, or there's like, I think, a restaurant right outside. There's like a little cantina. And then you pull up and you get off and you go to the metal detectors. And right before I got into one of the metal detectors, which would put me on the opposite side of where I was. So I was like, "Hey, is there anyone here who's by themselves?" I'm like, "Yep, me." Like, I was kind of bonding with someone, but I'm like, "Fuck you, I'm going to wherever the hell they want me to go." So I get and they take me to the other door, empty out my pockets, have a conversation a little bit about my kilt, because I was wearing my new one. And I go in, trip up the stairs going up into the rafter, because it's literally just like a backstage area that you go into, and then you come down, and I literally tripped up the stairs because it's wide step, short step, wide step, short step. It changes, and so if you're not paying attention, you will trip. And then they're like, "Okay, you're gonna be right here." I was 4th row back on the corner, and it was literally, I could not get a better position unless I was in the front row in anywhere in that building. It was so good. And and like always, I have conversations with the people next to me because we're all excited. And we're sitting there, we're talking. I had a good conversation about what's going on in main roster. Good things about, we were talking about, speculating about what's going on that night, and it just like we had a great 2 dark matches before the event, before everything started. I was texting Mikey the entire time. Like, it's a little, you just see me just playing on my watch trying to text. There's a few words that would not spell correctly, and it was really irritating me at one point. Like aggression. And the other word that I thought they said.
It was crazy.
And then it was great. It was such an awesome experience. They give you water if you're thirsty, as long as they have it. But it is literally, if you have the opportunity to go to one of these events, NXT literally is by far so much fun. Hi, Nick. I had a load of great time. I had a great seat. I had a great experience. I got smacked by an accident by Elegance, mostly because I wasn't paying attention to what was coming from behind me. She walks down literally and just still next to me, and then she goes kind of like this, and I'm sitting there kind of like this because I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing with my hands, and I just get smacked in the hand. I'm like, "Oh shit!"
It just appeared out of nowhere.
It's like I knew something was up because the person two ahead of me had someone tap on their shoulder, switch places with them and the person next to them, and then all of a sudden she shows up, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking for like, where am I looking here? What's coming around the corner? Because if you see someone moving people, you know that there's going to be a thing, especially considering there was a work stage hand next to me and across the aisle, just to monitor things because they're very strict on recording. They're very you're not supposed to record during the match. You can take pictures all you want. You can you can take pictures all you want, but you cannot take any video. Or at least that's what they said. People still did it, but like literally they said this whole thing will either arrest you, will confiscate the phone, blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude, that's gonna be interesting to say the least.
Right.
But it was such a blast. I had such a great time. The crowd chants were hysterical.
Oh, I bet. And we kind of heard some of them throughout this. So
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but because it's one of the things that kind of surprised me. Because I was seeing, a lot of our colleagues in this field who, do reviews and watch alongs on like Twitch and stuff who actually, show the whole thing. And I'm listening to one of the promos. It's the promo before Yoshiki comes out. And I couldn't hear it at all in the performance center because we were so loud.
Oh, absolutely. Which we're going to fill in the gap here in a little bit when we go through it. Because us at home, we also were having a little trouble, but we got the gist of it. So, Kale, I'm glad that you had such a great time. So let's recap the entire night and everything that we saw from home, shall we? Because, we are on the road to Heatwave. Heatwave is technically next Tuesday is the go-home show before Heatwave. Or in 2 weeks, I should say. So it should be very, very interesting. Cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. So let's just jump straight into everything. So we kick things off with our first match of the evening, which is Nia Jax versus Lash Legend. My God, this match was awesome to watch. I'm not even going to front. Holy crap. So we've been building to this match for the last couple of weeks. Well, actually since Evolution too, after Lash was the one who eliminated Nia Jax from the Evolution Battle Royale. This match was everything that I wanted. We got two big powerhouses, just powerhousing the, craziness. We had table spots, Lash Legend just absolutely blowing my mind by picking up and walking around with Nia Jax. Girls fighting on the ringside. Steps were used. This was awesome. And the fact that this match was like 17, 18 minutes long, I was just like, oh my God, we don't even get these long of matches on the main roster, which is crazy. But holy crap, this was a really fun back and forth. Ultimately, Lash, just the stamina just wasn't there anymore, and she succumbed to not one, but two annihilators for Nia Jax to pick up the victory here. So, Will, I'm going to come to you first. Of course, we talk about this all the time. We are big fans of Lash Legend, Black Girl Excellence up in here. We love women's wrestling. What did you think of our opening bout here?
I thought this was fantastic because any chance I get to see Miss Lash do her thing, I'm here for it. And I thought that this was great because for those of you who don't know out there in the world, I am a huge fan of the Black Girl. And to get to see these two go at it was so amazing. I wish I was there live for this one. Just because, it was just watching it. I was just like, God almighty, this was a great opener. I thought this was a great way to open this whole episode. Man, they were fantastic.
It really was. And I was just like, holy crap, they gave these girls some time, which, again, I watch all the wrestling, so it was a nice change of pace. It's like TV matches that actually go past 10 minutes. We love to see that. So great opener. I I don't know what this means for Lash. If that means that we're going to have her do some more stuff, if this is like her way to maybe potentially go over to the main roster sometime soon. But I was just like, unless they're going to give Lash a championship run to some capacity, I think Homegirl's ready, and I think she got the goods to make it on the main roster. But yeah, this match was so much fun. I really had a great time with this. Kelt, any additional thoughts for this one? I mean, you got to see these girls fight live.
There were some chops that were loud. Like, it echoes really well in that building, but like, holy crap, there were some spots. It was funny. I think it was like in the first couple minutes, Nia gets out and she goes, timeout, I want a timeout. We're all going, yeah, she needs a timeout, ref. Give her a timeout. And we were just, the crowd was behind Nia for a little bit, and as well as Lash. It was going back and forth. And there was a lot of fun. It was a lot of really good entertainment. It was such a good shot. Watching Nia just clear the announcer table, and the guys kind of running off to the side, and then they're like, "Can we come back now? Can we come back now? Can we come back now?" And then they go, "Oh no, we can't go back now." And then the whole table drop was just flawless. It was so good. It just, this match, I knew this was coming between the two of them based off of all the social media I was seeing, and this match literally held its own. This is a main roster match, and I would love to see Lash on the main roster with Nia again, and just going at it either like enemies to partners. To like a tag team story, or just continuing this feud going down the road, because this was just I loved it.
I would not be upset if we ran this back again. I would love to see these two clash again. But again, Nia Jax pulls out the victory against Lash, and we move on though, because next we got to talk about our first backstage segments of the evening. Chelsea Green and the Secret Hervis are here in the building. Chelsea is looking to suss out who potentially could be Tavion's tag team partner that he mentioned last week. And so Chelsea Green goes through some of the women on the roster. We also got a surprise Hank and Take in their admirable, I'm going to call it as the generous term, Zaruka cosplay outfits. Hank and Take are ridiculous, but I love those boys so damn much. And eventually, after going through like Callie Armstrong, who's our WWE Evolve Women's Champion, and a couple of other girls, Chelsea kind of finalizes it on Kendall Gray. Kendall and Alba Fire are going to have a match later on in the evening. Chelsea, we love you. I pledge allegiance to our Canadian president here, Chelsea Green. She's great. But we move on, though, because we get into our second match of the evening. This was TNA's Joe Hendry versus Charles Dempsey, as we call him here. This is Will's favorite wrestler of all times, Charlie Dempsey. So, of course, Kill, like I told you yesterday, I was like, here's Charlie Dempsey, a.k.a. this is Regal's kid. So this is William Regal's son. So, all jokes aside, we here at NXTilosos have had an issue, not with the wrestling from Charlie Dempsey, but the character is not necessarily our favorite because there isn't one, and they really haven't given Charlie anything to do. Dare I say, though, I was thoroughly entertained with this match, and I think this is probably the strongest that Charlie Dempsey has looked in NXT over the last couple of months. But that's because Joe Hendry is also awesome, too, as well. This was just fun. I had a great time with this one. We had some good back and forth. We have good graps, as I call them. We actually had some good stylistic wrestling. Charlie Dempsey being of, the traditional school of wrestling with the graps and the maneuvers and the submissions. And then Joe Hendry also matching that while also incorporating his very deceptively power-based wrestling too. Because Joe Hendry is a strong boy as well. It's that European style of wrestling that we come to learn from the likes of him, Pete Dunne, and of course, our best little strong boy, Tyler Bate, as well. So, Will, as the president of the Joe Hendry fan club, I'd like to get your thoughts on this one and what you think of this match.
Well, I'm there's no secret. I am not a fan of Mr. Dempsey, but This match is pretty good, actually. I really enjoyed it because, Joe Hendry, of course, I am a huge fan. And it was nice to see Joe whoop his ass. And because, my favorite against my not so favorite, and my favorite won. So yay. But I think if this is the end, God, I hope, of No Quarter Catch Crew, I think I would like Charlie as a solo wrestler more than when he was like mixed up in the faction or whatever you want to call them. Because in this match he felt different, and I didn't hate him as much. So that's obviously a step in the right direction, for me anyway. But I really did enjoy this match. I didn't think I was going to. I thought it was like, okay, throw it away, whatever. And then I was like, oh no, this is actually really good. So I really enjoyed it. I really did. And I was happy for the outcome.
Absolutely. Kilt Man, we as wrestling people have all become enamored with Joe Hendry and his theme song. And you got to finally witness it live and in person. Will and I have gotten that luxury earlier this year when Will went to TNA's Genesis, and then I got to go to Rebellion in Los Angeles. So Kilt, what did you think of the match and getting to experience Joe Hendry's entrance live?
Oh my God, that was so much fun. I literally, there's nothing I can say more than how just phenomenal it was. How great that I got to see this live. There was a guy dressed as Joe Hendry in the audience. Did anyone else see that? Okay, because Joe comes out and he's like, he does the.
I did at home, and I was just like, this is great.
Because Joe, he points indiscriminately to the audience and he goes, you just see he's like, yes. And it was so cool to see him in person, to see this match in person. At one point, the crowd started chanting "Rain Believes" because they saw something I did because I was too busy texting you. Because I was like, oh my god, and it seems like Rain was showing a potential shift to the Joe Hendry side and kind of going away from the entire crew. And it's like she turns around and looks in the dark section. She's like, no, I'm not. No. So it was just, there was a lot of little cool pieces in this where it's just so much. It was great. Like, there was nothing I could say bad about this match, because there was nothing bad about it. It was such a great match. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and like I don't think I could really speak any better praise of this.
This was a fun one. Joe Hendry does pick up the victory against Charlie Dempsey. There's a little bit of respect afterwards, and we move on. So I was like, okay, let's see where we're going. So we are going to go through these next segments a little bit of a faster pace because there was a lot of backstage promo talk before we get to our next match. So let's do the highlight reel as we talk about it. So after this match, we cut backstage where we initially see Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice getting ready for their match against Fatal Influence. Lola's eyes on the prize. She wants to get this win because it will bring and help her momentum as she will be at Triple A's Triple Mania this upcoming Saturday in a mixed tag team trios match, and she wants this win as well to get in contention for the NXT Women's Championship. Kalani Jordan wants to do the same. Both girls are friendly, but also at the same time, no, I want to win, which then prompts Miss Jada Parker to be like, my money's on you girls, but don't get it twisted because I'm gonna be the one to take this NXT Women's Championship when I get the chance. So these three, we're going to talk about them a little bit later in the show because this sets up something for Heat Wave that has some implications. And also, I love all three of these girls. We love to see them, and we love them here. After that, though, Oh, wait, I think I went too far. Nope, actually, I did it right.
You did.
I was like, this was the order of television thoughts that we saw. So I was just like, okay. So, really quickly, Kilt alluded to this earlier. Those of us at home, the crowd would not let Josh Briggs cut this promo. And Josh Briggs, I love you. You are fun to watch. We need to go back to some promo classes because he was struggling. He was struggling with this promo. I don't know if it was because of the crowd or whatnot, but I was like, ooh, he getting heat, and he's kind of like squirming underneath it right now. But in this promo, Josh Briggs basically talks about how, there's no honor in NXT. He doesn't need it. Yoshiki Inamura, cost him a chance at the NXT championship, blah, blah, blah. Which then prompts Yoshiki Inamura, one of our new faves here at NXT, as we love him. He comes into this ring. He basically says that he has honor. He calls Josh Briggs a jackass. And you know what? We're getting a Philly street fight next week on NXT. Then a brawl breaks out with, these two. Security comes in to try to pull them apart. And it's one of the typical wrestling brawls where everybody's fighting, they're separated, and both of them are giving each other the stare down at the end of this segment.
Wait, you didn't... Did... I don't know what got aired. Because for what I saw... Yoshiki took his shirt off and went, whee!
Yeah, that was towards the middle of all of this. I gave the Spark Notes version of it.
Okay, cool. You forgot the wee part. Anyway, when because someone yelled out he was a bitch at one point. And then he goes, jackass! Yes! He's a jackass! And then it was great. Literally, I think at the beginning of his promo, whatever the guy that's not Yoshiki's name is, because I can't remember.
Josh Briggs.
Thank you. At the beginning of Josh's promo, when he goes, "Oh, your boos mean nothing. I know what makes you cheer." I yelled at, "You're not Rick Sanchez," which is obviously no one really heard it besides me and the guy sitting next to me. Shout out to him who popped in the chat earlier. Literally, I think he was trying not to laugh at how badly he was getting Dominic Mysterio'd. You could not hear anything he was saying. You could see him talking, you could not hear it. And it's like, I don't know if the people that because there is like a single line right there in front underneath the camera. But it's like, smaller kids mostly. And like stagehands. So there's like some people right there, and they probably could hear it, but the rest of us couldn't hear a damn thing because we were so loud. And then just when Yoshiki came out, and we're all, they're chanting Yoshiki, Yoshiki, and it gets great. We had at one point, I think Yoshiki threw Josh because I'm trying to remember everything because there was a lot that happened last night, and I'm so giddy with excitement about it and all the stuff I had to do today for work, so my brain's kind of like, but I think he threw him at the guys, and then he got up and jumped at. There was like 8 guys there, and then Yoshiki just goes, I'm like, yes, more, give me more.
It really was
such a good segment.
It really was. So, Will, to kind of finally summarize, we've been kind of building to this since this triple threat and even beforehand between Briggs and Inamura. So what did you think of this overall segment, and are we excited for the street fight next week?
We all knew this was coming, and I figured it was going to happen either now or the next. I was thrilled that it happened now because now we'll get to see the brawl. But I mean, we've been seeing this coming for a little while now, and I think it's so funny how Josh was just dissing, and I was just like, dude, you're the problem child, my man. you are truly the problem child, and he wasn't taking any responsibility, which I think is great. The idea that splitting these two up and making them kind of rivals or whatever you want to call them, but yeah, I thought this was fun and right where it needed to be, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, so again, we're getting a Philly street fight next week as NXT will be in Philadelphia, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to kind of go over that before our main event because we have a lot of matches and segments set up for next week. But we must move on. We get to sit down interview with Jordynne Grace. You know what? And I'm going to come to you first. So we have been long familiar with Jordynne Grace. Since the inception of this channel, we've been following her in TNA, and now that she's in NXT. Unless I am wrong, I feel like this is the most emotionally charged promo we have ever seen Jordynne Grace do in our 3 years of getting to know her and following her in wrestling as well. And dare I say, while I wasn't the biggest fan of what Blake Monroe pulled 2 weeks ago with those before photos, and I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this angle we're going for, I think Jordynne Grace kind of made me buy into this feud a little bit more. I was like, holy crap, Jordynne. But this sit-down interview was great because, she corrected herself and she's like, it's not that I'm embarrassed about the before photos or anything. It's just that in my head, I never thought I can get to this level, which I was just like, no, don't say that. We know you could, girl. But she made me buy into this feud a little bit more. I was still invested with Blake and Jordynne fighting. I wasn't the biggest fan of how we kind of initialized the heat in terms of like the turn at Evolution was fine. And then we got the before pictures and I was like, oh no, Shawn Michaels, what are we doing? It's 2025. We cannot be shaming women up in here. But Jordynne took that and she turned it on its head. I was like, all right, Jordynne, I'm in. I really like this promo and this sit down interview from her. So Will, I'm going to let you go from I don't want to call it acting, but from your theater background, I want you to tell me, like, what did you think of this and what aspect did you like about this promo?
Well, we have seen Jordynne's evolution through multiple companies, and I was so excited when she was coming to NXT because I just love her because when she was over in TNA, I mean, she was like she was the women's division. I mean, when she was the champion, I mean, she represented very well. And when she came over to NXT, I was very much like, I think she's coming here to do the same thing, and I think it would be great. I would love for her to be our new women's champion, and sort of because I'm not going to lie, as much as I love her, JC is not what I would consider a good representative of the women's division.
For either brand, might I add.
Exactly.
We love JC. We're nothing against her personally, but I was just like, we're pushing her in a way that I'm not sure I'm digging.
Yeah, and I honestly, I think it's a disservice to her, but especially after tonight's event, or this past, the one we're going to talk about later. But Jordynne is so graceful. She's not one of those like spiteful, she could have sat in this interview and just smack talked the whole time. She could have just been like, let me tell you something. Here, let me throw some of her secrets out into the real world. But she didn't, and she doesn't. And she's so wonderful like that. I love that about her. I think she's super articulate. She's super charismatic. I listen to every word she says. And I love the fact, coming from a theatrical standpoint, looking at the character, is that the words that she says are specifically chosen by her to get her message across. So it's the words you're hearing this character say are only hers. They are specifically to her character, and they speak volumes about who she is as a person. You know, because words matter. Words are powerful. If you choose your words properly and carefully, you can make a huge impact. And I think that is one thing that Jordynne Grace is brilliant at. Even when she's like in an emotional place, when she's like popping off, she uses specific words that empower her, even when she's like bitching and moaning about somebody. And that's what I love about her. And watching this segment, I agree with you. I think this is the most introspectively emotional that we've ever gotten with her. It was because it was coming from somewhere inside as opposed to sort of the normal outward charismatic Jordynne that we know. This was coming from inside, and that made it so different. And I love that about it. I was on this thing. I was watching it and listening, and it was so good. And I just love Jordynne Grace. And I really hope that they do something good with her here.
Right. We're going to talk about it in a couple of seconds too, because we see Blake a little bit like right after this sit down interview, and I'm going to talk about something, but we love Jordynne Grace here. Shout out to our muscle muffin.
Hold on my muscle muffin. Hold on my muscle muffin.
I love her meat muffin. I wanted to start that chant. I love meat muffin, but I couldn't find a good moment to do it, and I felt like a little bit of an outsider if I started something that out the wall.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. Not because of the outsider part, but because of the content that we got in this sit down interview. I was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't right now.
No, it didn't feel right, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna shut the fuck up because that was a wise idea for me. And I'm just like, this is something. This was a great way of taking this. You know, she owned her own body dysmorphia, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
And it's like, we see a side of her that that we wouldn't normally see. And it almost was like whoever's doing the interview was trying to like goad her into, being catty or being, go on the attack. But it's like, hey, I'm owning up to this. I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all right, I like this more than if it was just a smack attack and just a hit back. It's okay, so yeah, she brought up this stuff. Here's what I was going through. This is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. This is how I accepted it. And she just moved on with it. And I think that was just the best way she could have done this. And I think this was probably the best promo I've seen for the night.
Yeah, hands down. Jordynne carried this. And this kind of leads into what we saw afterwards. Blake Monroe with Ava watching this whole sit down. And Blake's like, can you believe this? It's like, again, playing mean girl. Ava's like, oh, no. Blake, just so you are aware, she has been medically cleared. And you two are going to have a face-to-face next week in Philadelphia. You two, of course, are fighting each other at Heatwave, but you're going to face Jordynne face-to-face so you can come to terms like with her in the same room as you about how we transpired this feud. And Blake, yells at Ava, accusing her of favoritism. And I'm just like, you know what? I wasn't initially a fan of, where the direction of the feud was going. But after Jordynne and, of course, Blake being also a lot of fun, too, I'm here for this. There's only one problem I have for this feud. The way we're telling the story makes me so interested. I'm just like, why is the title not on one of these two? And this is a championship feud. This feels like a championship feud. How is it that these two, don't get me wrong, I love all of the NXT women's roster, but we all know that these two have more wrestling experience than most of our NXT girls who are just getting into wrestling or have only been there for like 1, 2, 3 years. Jordynne and Blake have been wrestling in different companies. I mean, Jordynne coming over from TNA, she was literally the poster child of the Knockouts division for 3 years. And then, of course, we have Blake Monroe, who has had a stellar and probably my favorite feud of any women's wrestling in the last 3 years with her feud with Timeless Toni Storm in AEW. She also has New Japan wrestling experience. So They are seasoned, they are traveled. And I'm just like, the biggest disservice to this is the fact that there is no championship involved with this. I know I say all the time that championships don't make feuds, and this is one of them, but I was like, damn. Whenever we get a title on one of these two and they fight for the title, it's like, ooh, this feud is about to be like, it's gonna be so good. So these two are gonna come face to face next week. JC has her work cut out for her because not only does she have a match later tonight, but she is made aware of the fact that both Ash by Elegance, which is, I was like, I love her in her fur coat on brand. Masha looks like she's ready to go find and kill somebody. She is in blue. She is ready to fight we're far enough in. She's ready to fight a bitch. Like, Masha is out for blood. And so JC is made aware of the fact that these two are in the building. And, again, we continue to see the miscommunication and the breaking of, the fatal influence girls. I was like, that turn is coming, and I'm calling it now. Jasmine is going to be the one to create that fracture because of the way that Jasmine has been treated all night tonight. I was like, damn. So we're going to come back to these girls in a little bit. This is the most melanated I have seen in any WWE product within the last couple of months, and I'm here for it. We get Team Melanin over here. So TNA World Champion Trick Williams, Javon Evans, NXT Champion Obafemi, and TNA's Moose. This is the can they coexist? And the short answer to that question is probably not. We will talk more about that in the main event, but I was like, yes, melanated on my screen. I was like, I'm here for this. Also, Hank and Tank come in as like pest controls because, again, the whole thing is they can't attack Dark State this episode. So they're out here trying to stay in the locker room while also being incognito. They are ridiculous, and I love them. I mean, Oba, Moose, and Javon are kind of on the same page, but again, Trick is like, nah, fuck y'all. I ain't gonna be on. I was like, I'm here for me, and that's it. I was like, all right, Trick, I see how this is gonna go. We're gonna talk about you in the main event a little bit later because you was a little bitch and you ran away. Anywho,
he got tossed too.
Yes, he did, and it was fabulous. So we gotta move on though. So we get into our next match after 25 minutes of backstage promos, which was fine. We get Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan versus the Fatal Influence Girls. So our double champ, JCJ and Fallon Henley. All I have to say is hot damn, Lola Vice's back fists are still very vicious to hear and to watch as well. Holy crap, homegirl. Literally, Lola has MMA fighting. We have seen this in action since being in NXT. This was so much fun. And again, Fatal Influence tries to pull their shenanigans, but I'm not going to lie. I was like, okay, Fatal Influence is probably going to win. Did not see Kalani and Lola winning. I'm going to be so upfront with y'all. I was just like, because here on NXT, we keep going back and forth. Fatal Influence wins and then they lose. They win and then they lose. Will, I see you have dots. You are.
And Kalani pinned JC.
Yes, that's the important thing right here. Kalani pinned the champ, which is the important part here. Kalani pinned JC, the champion, so that in the world of wrestling, we all know that is grounds for title shot contention, because if you pin a champion of some sort, that literally shoots you up the ladder really quickly to have a match. But again, this was a really fun match. I do like Fatal Influence as the tag team because they work very well together in tandem. I was very, very pleasantly surprised with Kalani and Lola's chemistry as well. Again, they knew that they want to be the number one contender, but they didn't let that get in the way where, if we win here, this is going to be big, talking points later. And it will when we get later in the show. But hot damn, this was a lot of fun. Again, Lola Vice's back fist is crazy, and I love Kalani's split-legged moonsault finisher, which is so much fun to watch. Put that gymnastics background to work, girl. This was your introduction in-ring wise to these girls. What did you think of this particular match?
This was amazing. This was so much fun. This match was all over the place because it wasn't just in the ring; it was also out in the crowd too. And because Ash by Elegance was getting heckled by a group next to me, and it was just playful, whatever, it jabs, and then it turned on her Iceman, They started calling him Pee Wee Herman. I'm just sitting there dying.
He does be looking like a bootleg Pee Wee Herman. Oh,
He sounds
my
like him
God.
too.
George Iceman, we love you, but oh my gosh, we're using that on TNA now.
Oh yeah, they took it like champs, and they had a lot of fun. And like literally as she's leaving, she's kind of blowing kisses at everybody because she enjoyed herself. But it was just such a good match. They're sitting there yelling that someone couldn't dance like Lola, and it's like, you're not Lola. It's just there were so many good spots, and that's one of the things. I think you and I talked about this at one point, Mike. It was like, this is something that a lot of people I think really do need to experience a little bit more of, because NXT, because it's such a small crowd, you have a lot more intimacy with what's going on as a crowd member. Obviously you can't really affect things in the ring because they're going to do what they're going to do. But at one point, they started yelling out, "Get Booker a bottle of water." Get Booker water.
Booker is always horny on main in NXT. Like, that's one of me and Will. We side eye Booker sometimes. We're like, Booker, the things that come out of your mouth is buck wild, and we love.
We couldn't hear any of
it. Yeah, we did at home. Will and I definitely heard it at home. I was like, "Damn it, Booker, we were doing so well this episode too."
It's all of a sudden it was just, get Booker some water.
Yeah, like, Booker was being horny.
He probably needs some water.
Booker was being horny on main commentary for this particular match. I was like, damn it, Booker, we were doing so well too. Stephanie McCarron, I love you, but this is your fault. I was like, this is your fault. Especially because when she does the devil's kiss, Booker is the one who started it, and so now everybody does it when she does the devil's kiss. So I was like, I was like, all right, Booker. It's like, we used our power for good with Trick Williams' ad libs, and then we used it for evil, but that is okay. We love you still.
Yeah, and this was a great match all in all. There were some good attempts to try and some bumfuckery, so to speak, from both sides, and obviously we saw who won. It was great. The match was pretty well done. I didn't see any major flaws that I could pick out from the crowd, but I just got to sit there and I just got to enjoy it. And it really was mostly the crowd, the crowd energy that you got from it. And I don't know how much they silenced it on the show, because from every little bit that I can see, it's been very quiet when it comes to what the crowd noise is. And it just it was 10 times louder in studio, so to speak. Well, you can call it in the studio, in location. And this was such a good match. And it's I'll keep saying this over and over again. Obviously seeing something live is going to be a whole lot better than watching it either on TV or watching the recording. But the only thing you get out of the watching it is you get the commentary. You get to hear Booker be horny on main. And it's all right. Do I want to have Booker horny on main, or do I want to have the goofy goobers that are part of this crowd shouting out the silly, goofiest things and coming up with these weird chants and heckles? I'm going to go with the heckles, because it is so hilarious. Because
listen,
again, Ash was 2 seats in front of me, and Iceman had to stand there the whole time because they didn't give them both seats, but probably just so that way they could see him easier in the crowd. But it's
no, you're still there.
All of a sudden, my camera did that. Why don't we just buffer for a minute? I'm like, oh no. Am I going? But no, it was such a great opportunity. It's was fun to watch. I didn't realize there was a second person in the crowd until I happened to just look over.
And there's Masha.
And there's Masha on the other side. I'm like, oh.
Masha is going to find you, and you won't realize she's there until the final moments. But yeah, speaking of which, again, Kalani and Lola pick up the win. Kalani pins JC, so that is some big talking points for title contention match down the line. And then, of course, JC has her work cut out for her because as the Fatal Influence girls are trying to get it together in the ring, JC looks around and we see Ash by Elegance and Masha Slamovich in the crowd, who over the last 2 weeks of TNA television, JC has been able to run away with her championship through some shenanigans, which, you know, we were wondering what was going to happen. And Will, we got our answer of where that TNA title is going to be at very shortly. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But we got to move on, though. Jasper Troy is angry at Ricky Starks. That is all we need to know about this promo. And these two are going to fight each other again next week in Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. Like Jasper Troy, Will, we talked about this before. I think the biggest issue is that we are overexposing him, I think is the best way to say it. Like, this kid, I know he won season 1 of LFG for the men. But at the same time, I was just like, we've been seeing him almost damn near every other week on NXT. And now we're getting to our women's winner, who we finally get to see a little bit later in the show. But I was like, we're kind of overexposing Jasper. I know he's probably going to end up being an Oba Femi down the line in NXT when Oba goes to main roster. I was like, let's pump the brakes really quickly. Because I like Jasper. I like Ricky. But just like I was with Ethan Page and Ricky fighting all the time, I was just like, I don't want this to become a forever feud either. Like, I need Ricky to do something of substance. Like, I don't know what's happening. But literally, this is Jasper is angry. That is all I have to say. We can move on. So, we move on from this, though. We get a little bit of a kind of a shorter match. We get Alba Fire versus Kendall Gray. Kendall Gray is no longer undefeated. The sequence with her bouncing from rope to rope and switching directions like crazy was so much fun to watch. And the way that she literally side sweeps all but to the ground was great. But let me remind y'all, this was such a fun match for me because for the longest time, I've been wanting people to realize that it's like, no, you guys, I promise, Alba Fire is really great. Girl tore the house down with Kendall in this one. I was like, this is why she was the final NXT UK champion when NXT UK was around. Like, Alba Fire actually can go, but she's been stuck in booking purgatory / catering. And now that she's back in the ring here in NXT, I was like, y'all need to be reminded how great she is. This was a fun match. This really, really was. But I figured once we saw Kendall Gray was going to be the one to face Alba, I was like, yeah, Alba's probably going to win, but it's still going to be fun. This was a fun match. Let's get into what happened afterwards because I loved it even more. So, oh, yes, Kilt, really quickly.
There was a constant chant of who's watching the president.
Chelsea Green is. I love.
Who was watching the president? And
I know.
Yeah, and then it progressed.
So, match was fun. Alba Fire wins, but we are not quite done. So let's get into the post segment of all of this because this was a lot of fun for this. So initially, we're like, okay, what is going to be happening here? So Tavion comes out. We love us some Tavion Heights here. And he gets on the mic. He addresses the Secret Hervis and Ethan Page talking about, listen, Miss Gray here is great, but she's not who I was picking. I was just like, the person that I'm picking for my tag team partner has something in common with that, you know, both Olympic, like she won an Olympic gold medal. And then Suplex City for everyone. So as soon as Tavion mentions that, we get the camera shot back into the ring. We see Zara Vea Steel here dribbling suplex to Alba, to Piper, and then to all Ethan Page for good measure too. And I was just like, listen, both Tavion and Zara are both actual collegiate athletes. It just happened that Zara is also a women's wrestling gold medalist as well, which is crazy. I'm here for this tag team, and I cannot wait for whenever Ethan and Chelsea go up against these two. Oh, I'm so here for it, and I hope both of them kick their ass because it would be so much fun. This is just a fun, silly story that I've been enjoying. I'm so happy to see our women's LFG winner finally actually come back to television, and now she's involved in the story. She is so good. Love her. Well, what did you think of our girl here delivering suplex to everybody?
I loved this because I'm loving Tavion now that he's sort of on his own. And so he came out, and of course, it's no secret that I hate Ethan Page. And so this was a beautiful moment for me when she like just tossed him over her shoulder. And I was just like, yes, girl. About time somebody did it. Because shut him up. My God. And no, this was brilliant. This was great. I loved this whole thing. Just boom, 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 boom. And it was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for whenever we get this tag team match. It's going to be great. We got to move on, though. So, the Fatal Influence girls are still fighting. They come into Ava's office, where Ava just lets them know about a couple of things. First of all, JC's just like, listen, you signed up for being double champ, girl. You are double champ, so you are going to be busy the next couple of weeks. So, we know that you are NXT Women's Champion. You are also the TNA Knockouts World Champion. So, you will be defending your TNA Knockouts Championship at Heatwave. And JC's like, okay, who am I going up against? And Ava's like, you will be going up against both Masha, and JC's like, I already beat her, and Ash by Elegance. So JC has to defend that TNA World Knockouts Championship in a triple threat, which means JC does not have to get pinned to lose this championship. So this is going to be interesting. My prediction is that I think JC still holds on to it. I think Ash is unfortunately going to get pinned. Because I still think Masha's going to be the one to get this title back at Bound for Glory, but that's just me. But because Fatal Influence needs some bonding time to get themselves back together, they will be competing in a 6-woman tag team match next week in Philadelphia. It's going to be the Fatal Influence girls versus all 3 members of the TNA's Elegance brand. So that includes Ash, Heather, and M by Elegance. Poor Jasmine, man. She's like, Fallon and JC are blaming her for everything that goes wrong. Jasmine's going to snap, and it's going to be glorious, and I cannot wait for this. So, JC will be defending the TNA Knockouts Championship in a triple threat at Heatwave, and then we get the 6-woman tag made for next week in Philadelphia, which, speaking of which, we got a whole bunch of stuff loaded for that show. So, of course, as mentioned before, we are getting Jasper Troy versus Ricky Saints Part 2. We are getting a Philadelphia street fight between Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. We get the face-to-face confrontation between Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. We are also getting a number 1 contenders match. Trick Williams versus Javon Evans. Winner will go face Obafemi for the NXT Championship at Heatwave. So excited. Cannot wait. It's going to be a stacked Philadelphia episode next week. But before we get into our main event, though, we're getting a peace treaty between the United States and Canada next week, because Ethan was like, how did you not scout out and, figure out that Tara May Steeles was part of something? I was like, Ethan's like, you didn't do your research, Chelsea. So these two are going to cook something up. Silliness. We love it. Fantastic. Okay. So here's the thing. This didn't air on the show, not for us at home, but I checked the social medias, and I wish they aired this because this is another match made for Heatwave. So Kalani, Lola, and Jada are having a conversation and arguing about who should be the next one up for number 1 contendership for the NXT Women's Championship, especially since JC will be defending the TNA Knockouts title at Heatwave. Ava comes in, and she lets these 3 note that all 3 of them have argue points over the last couple of weeks of who should be it. So at Heatwave, we are getting a number 1 contenders triple threat. So it's going to be Lola Vice versus Kalani Jordan versus Jada Parker. Winner will will face JC and challenge her for the NXT Women's Championship in the near future, which is probably going to be at the next NXT episode or the week after that. So I'm here for this. Lola, Kalani, and Jada on a PLE. Love to see it. I wish they put this and aired this, but this is another match made for Heatwave. So I was like, yes, we're here for this. There's actually a lot of women's matches for Heatwave, which I'm really excited about, which I'm okay with.
I think they saw the draw of Evolution and the success of it, and they're like, maybe.
Listen, we here at BC WrestlePad across any promotion, women's wrestling is always better than the men's, and that is
Agreed.
just fact and not, an opinion. But main event time. Lord have mercy, this was a cluster. But
it was a cluster. But if I may, before we move on to the main event, I have to say one thing about the Chelsea Green bit.
Okay.
About declaring peace. So there's a few people who might understand this, but I'm going to quote the rule of acquisitions, rule number 76. Every once in a while, declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies.
Again, the Chelsea, Ethan, Tavion, and Tyra May Steels is silly, but we love it. All right, let's get into this cluster because this was a 13-minute match where bodies were flying everywhere. This was wild. I am so jelly. Well, no, I'm not jelly because I got to see Javon at Worlds Collide. Javon defies all laws of physics and gravity. Like, this kid is bouncing all over the place. But this whole match was nuts. I was just like, still don't like Dark State. I'm still trying to figure out how they were able to get a tag team championship title shot at Heatwave just for losing and attacking folks, which is weird. But we're going to throw that out the window. Trick Williams, I'm mad at you because you cost your team because you wouldn't come in and help save anybody because you are selfish and use a little bitch. He's just like, I'm out, y'all. I was like, damn it, Trick.
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, so.
But he still got tossed like a little bitch.
He did, which was really fun to watch. This match was really crazy back and forth. This is 8 people in this ring. Chaos was all abound. Like I said, Trick did not go in to help for the save because Oba accidentally knocks out Javon. Moose accidentally knocks out Oba. Moose gets thrown out the ring. Trick could be the hero in this story, but he chooses to be the little punk, and he decides to stay out of it as Dark State pins Javon for the win. So your winners in this 8-man is Dark State. Before we get into what happens afterwards, Papo Oso, I'm going to come to you first. We already know where we stand. Both of us are not the biggest fan of Dark State. I mean, I like Saquon Sugars, but that's about it. What did you think of this 8-man and, the chaos and the story that we were going through with everybody involved?
I completely did not like this whole thing. And no diss on any of the performers, of the wrestlers. I just don't understand the necessity of it. I didn't understand why this was happening. First of all, don't understand what the hell Dark State's doing here. I don't get anything about them. And I don't see why they wasted the time of not just me, but the stars, the performers. Like, what did this prove? Who got what out of this? I mean, honestly, first of all, you've got all it did is just show that all of your NXT champion folks, champion contenders, whatever, are complete idiots because they were like fumbling all over each other, and it was just like, what is happening right now? I was literally just trying to watch this, trying to figure out what the hell was happening.
Well, I think what also doesn't help this too is because you're not dealing with one company story, you're dealing with 2. Because Trick is our TNA World Champion, and the fact that Trick and Moose will be facing off for the TNA Championship this Friday at Emergence, you also got to get that across on NXT television. My only silver lining for this is even though Javon took the pin, I'm really praying to the wrestling gods that means he's going to win against Trick next week to be the one to face Oba at Heatwave. And as much as I love Oba, I'm really pulling for a Javon win where he gets to be champion at Heatwave because honestly, we talked about this. Oba has gone through every single possible man you can think of in this NXT division, like twice or even 3 times in certain cases. I think it's time to strap the rocket to Javon and let him have a championship run for the remainder of the year to see where this goes. But again, I think Javon's time is coming soon. It might be as soon as Heatwave. It might be, who knows? It might be at Halloween Havoc, No Mercy. our final NXT pay-per-view of the year that we usually get at deadline. So I'm still holding that Javon will walk out as NXT champion at some point in the year. Here's hoping that it is as soon as Heatwave. But let's talk about what happened afterwards, because, Hank and Tank honored their agreement. They were not allowed to touch Dark State until the match was over. Brawl! So, of course, Dark State is going to be facing Hank and Tank for the NXT Tag Team Championships at Heatwave. Again, still don't know why they are giving the chance. The fact that not only has Dark State lost more times in NXT, they also been losing in TNA too. They lost at Slammiversary. I was just like, how does that equate to them getting a championship match? It's crazy to me. But Hank and Tank and Dark State brawl. The security has to pull everybody apart. That is how NXT goes off the air for the week. And we are done with our NXT review. So, overall, I will say that this week's NXT was a definite improvement over last week, but that's because last week was very promo, talky talk heavy episode, and there was very few matches that actually kind of mattered. So it's wild to say all of that. But I'm excited because next week is the Go Home show for NXT, which means we will be reviewing the Go Home show in Philadelphia and making our predictions for Heatwave, which is the following weekend, which is nuts. The fact that next Tuesday is the Go Home show before Heatwave. We're almost there, you guys. It's going to be crazy. We got a lot of other stuff happening this week, though. So let me put this beautiful schedule on the screen. So me and Will will be back here in a little bit with our lovely other third co-host, El Buntador del Segundo, for our CMLL review. So I'm excited for all of that. Then on Friday, we have our TNA review, as we will be reviewing the Go Home show for TNA and making our predictions for Emergence. So I will be sending that predictions form out tomorrow after TNA is over with any other updates about our matches and what's happening and all there. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 1 p.m., Andrew and I, as well as our new friend Sam, is going to be watching night 1 of GCW and JCW's 2-Day War. Sunday, we wrap up the week with our WWE review at 11:30. And then at 5 p.m., I will be back with the JCW Night 2 reaction / watch along with Andrew and Sam. So we got to get up on out of here because I know Will needs to get caught up and kind of finish CMLL as well. So both of us can be prepared for this review in a little bit. So, Kilts, I would like to thank you for coming on for NXT this week. I'm so happy that you had a great time being there in the crowd live. And like I said, just even if you don't get to go every single week, of the 3 brands WWE has, NXT holds a special little place in my heart, and it ends up being the most fun every week for WWE for me personally. So I'm always looking for people to be joining the cult of NXT. So who knows? We might have you back on down the line at some point. So we'll see what happens. But we got to get up on out of here. So from all of us at NXTilosos and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll be back in about an hour or so for our CMLL review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.